but it was packed really tightly in there. He seems to enjoy really digging in the corners and getting all of this out. There was enough to fill a small pillow packed into this little item. And he had it spread all over. There's still parts of it all over the carpet. There's some underneath the chair. There's some underneath that chair. This stuff, it was a ton of it. But he tore this apart, and I am not going to exaggerate here. The first hole with the first puff of stuff on the floor was 10 minutes into having this opened. 10 minutes. It certainly didn't last 6 hours. He got it on the floor and just went to work on it. I figured once it was ripped within 10 minutes, why bother trying to keep it nice? The rope is really tough, and he likes the rope. If I dangle this across his face, he'll jump in the air trying to get it. But man, that bird at the end didn't last more than 10 minutes. It does have some goofy eyes, which is always nice. A toy with goofy eyes is a good thing. So although that said tough, it is not a chew toy. And I don't think it's even can be considered a tug-of-war toy. This thing is sort of a surprise. It is, there's our stuffing. Let's see who made it. Oh, this is a Spot. I don't know what the hell that's for. Spot must be the company. Okay, so this is a flat psychedelic alligator. Inside, I've opened these up before. We've had others of these that have failed. There's a squeaky toy in there. Some companies don't have a squeaker. What they have is a small water bottle that crunches when they chew it. He likes that as well. These eyes are filled with nothing, that they're hollow. Again, googly eyes, always good for a toy. He likes this. This is a tug-of-war toy to an extent. It's not as easy to grip onto this, so I don't really play with him as much with it. But he likes this. This has lasted a few weeks already, and it is barely even. Looks like he's trying to get at it. He likes that one. Go ahead, Xander. These rope-type toys are very good. He will eventually chew them apart. This one's getting torn up. This is a few weeks old. These get, more often than not, they get left outside and become so funky that we have to toss them after a while. But he will eventually chew these up. And although the rope itself does not absorb water, mud and slimy stuff gets inside there and starts to just get so funky that we got to get rid of them. These little tags on the end, I think make for better tug-of-war fun. They don't last. That stuff is off of there really quickly. These things are definitely not chew toys. This is a great brand, Chuck It. It's a very firm tennis ball. They're great for running around, and they last about 3 or 4 times as long as a standard tennis ball. He will peel the skin off of this and then eat the insides. This will be torn apart. If we let him do it, he would tear this apart in about 2 days. Once he gets one corner and is able to peel the skin off of them, the fur, the fuzz, then he gets at the inside and eats them apart. So the long part of it is working on it long enough to get the fur enough for him to be able to get his teeth on it, and then they're gone. So once he gets that, they're short-lived after that. So we buy these fairly consistently because they last so much longer than regular tennis balls, and I really worry about him choking on regular tennis balls. So these are great. They're not a chew toy, but they're a great outside play toy. Then we get to the chew toys. So I'm going to include the rope in the chew toy. Those are pretty good for chewing. These Kong toys are sort of the gold standard of long-lasting chew toys. These are pretty dirty because they're outside a lot. This particular dog, Xander, does not care for these. My daughter's dog loves Kong toys, so we keep them around. They put peanut butter in them or Cheese Whiz. Kong has their own brand of Cheese Whiz, which is apparently more attractive to dogs than regular Cheese Whiz. I'm sorry to use that generic term there. Sorry, Cheese Whiz. But these are great for lasting a long time. These have been around for probably 3 or 4 months, and although he has nibbled on the edges, that's about all he can get at. He really doesn't tear these up. They make a bone shape, sort of like this bone, but it's beefier and bigger ends. Kong makes one that shape, smooth like the Kong, sort of their signature texture is smooth. This guy just doesn't like them, so we don't really buy these much. We keep them around because my daughter's dog is here a lot. He's a yellow, a yellow lab, and he's loves to go chase things. So if they don't bring his bone, his Kong bone, we have those to play with. This thing was the surprise purchase. This was a cheap toy. It was from Target or Meijer, one or the other. I think I've seen them at both. It's a Nylabone. I'm sure they're available other places, but bang for the buck, this is the longest lasting toy. This has been here, I believe we bought it in June. It's now December. I'd say a good 5-6 months, and it looks still brand new. These little ridges are not quite as sharp as when we got them, but man, this thing has lasted. A good value for the dollar. This is not meant to be consumed by the dog. There are other toys that are meant to be eaten by the dog to keep his teeth clean and stuff. But this thing is just a really great deal. He will chew on this. The only downside of this one is when they chew on them, it makes a squeaking noise, and it's a little bit irritating until you figure out what that noise is. I kept thinking it was like the old sound that a VCR used to make when it would hit the end of the tape and the tape heads are still moving, that little cross between a squeak and a grind. It would make that noise, and I kept looking over at the DVD player thinking, why is it making that noise? Actually, it was this thing. But once you figure out what it is, it's not that irritating. It's not like a constant hum from a bad light bulb or anything. It's just a noise that once you get used to it, it's okay. So this is a great bargain. I think it was $7. I think they had a slightly smaller size, about this big, for about $5, and they last forever. And he's particularly tough on toys. So these guys last a long time until he decides to chew on them, and then they're gone. They're just done immediately. This lasts a long time. These last a long time as long as they don't get sloppy, slimy. This washes right up. The Kongs are pretty washable. This one was muddy when I brought it in the house. I gave it a quick wash. You can see it's still a little bit wet inside. The shiny stuff is water. So these will wash up every so often when they've been out playing in the mud in the spring or in the fall. We throw them in the dishwasher, which is, a load of dog toys, and they come out looking and smelling much better. So those are a bargain. They're just not Xander's favorite. This is definitely one of his favorites. He would always rather play with a new toy, but he'll go back to this when that one is destroyed again. This case won't last. I'd give it 3 or 4 more days. He'll just tear the whole thing right off. When it really starts to be hanging off, I just go in with the scissors and cut the parts off so that he doesn't choke on them. It's no fun seeing this stuff in his poop. I'm sure it's no fun for him either. That's it for dog toys for today. We're going to see how these two guys last. And we're going to try and keep this just as a tossing toy and not let him bring it in the house, because that's where he really starts to chew. And we'll do the same thing with this, but we'll be a little less careful because it says it's meant to be, meant to be tugged on, and hopefully those straps will last a long time. These things, when we have the balls outside, once he's done with them, I run around the yard and pick up all the balls and put them in one place, and he won't take them out of that box. Although he could, he just doesn't. That way they're not getting chewed on. This will let him bring it in once or twice and see what he's doing it, but we'll watch him, make sure there's no parts coming off of it, because it really isn't a chew toy. It is more of a play toy. So we want to be careful, but we'll see how he does with it. It'll be a real torture test for him. Again, Xander is not, he's a vigilant. He's out watching the sheep outside, apparently. Oh wait, we live in a city, there are no sheep.